Sa dudes? It's your boy Agent Psycho, aka Sniper98. So, originally, this was in fact supposed to be a melt video. And then I realized I grailed my Tam to 100 finally during Seraph. And then I thought, what can I do to celebrate finally grailing my waifu that I had been waiting for a damn near a full year to do? And then I realized that the first video that I made in this series was on Tamamo, and since it was the first, it's a lot different than the kind of how-tos that I make nowadays. All this to say, sorry Melt fanboys, but her video's delayed. We gotta touch these tails first. Again. So, let's take a trip down to Azure Lane, down Memory Lane, and go back to the roots, to the one who started it all. Tamamo Namaya is a 5-star caster who first debuted with the very first Halloween banner and made half the player base at the time rage quit once they realized how bad the gacha rates were after dumping all their precious saved quartz on her banner. She's one of the big 4 in FGO, as in she's one of the 4 meta-defining casters in FGO, along with Buster Virgin, Quickshot, and the guy who legit needs to get laid at some point.
Running with the wind to a place atop a hill.
Adult Senko has 14,259 HP and 10,546 attack at level 90 and 15,621 HP and 11,544 attack if she's fully grailed, like mine is now. She's got standard caster class, star gen, and weight, only 0.32% MP charge on attack, 3% charge on defense, a 36% death rate, and she's neutral evil. She's got, not surprisingly, a full caster deck with triple arts cards and an arts NP. Her quick card hits 3 times, her arts cards hit 5 times, her buster card hits once, and her extra hits 4 times. The only relevant thing to talk about from her stats here is her NP gain. After the past year and a half or so of arts memeing with her, I've learned that her MP gain, despite looking pretty bad on paper, is actually not as bad as it comes off as. Per individual arts card, Tamamo generates about 6 to 7% on a leadoff card, about 10% on a second arts card with an arts leadoff, of course, and about 13 to 15% depending on the enemy class with an arts anchor with an arts leadoff. But remember that you're primarily using her in an arts team, and you should always be picking arts chains whenever possible, so it's more like anywhere from 26 to 35% MP charge per card, and even more if she's got multiple arts cards in the chain. Give her Prisma Cosmos on top of that for even more woke arts memes.
In the end, I could only remember the lights.
Akagi's first skill is Witchcraft EX, which has a chance to drain an enemy's MP gauge by 1 from 80 to 100% on a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. One of the weaknesses of an arts team is that due to its nature, it usually takes a while for the team to get the arts memes going, with skill spamming and MP looping and all that good shit. Witchcraft helps alleviate this problem by buying you at least one more turn with an enemy to get the ball rolling, since if you can delay when an enemy can use their MP, you can buy yourself a bit more time. This becomes especially powerful when you start using control teams like Tam Waver Vlad or Tam Waver Kiara or any other art servants who also have a way to drain enemy gauges, because by that point you have multiple rounds of drains at your disposal to buy you a considerable amount of time to get your arts memes going. And then earlier this year, DW thought that apparently Tam wasn't strong enough and buffed this skill. Well, fuck it, we take those. So Witchcraft EX gets buffed to Mantra Boundless Sunlight A, which keeps the original charge drain effect, but adds a party-wide 20 to 30% MP damage buff, except yourself, yeah, big fucking deal, for 3 fucking turns with the same 7 to 5 turn cooldown. So a lot of you may have already seen lots of JP videos on how fucking insane Tam is now with this buff, but let me try to come at this with a different perspective. MP damage buffs in this game are relatively rare, actually, as skill buffs. Not a lot of servants have them, and if they do, it's either in the form of party buffs, but it's a pretty mild buff, like Tactics, which only caps out at 18% if you have Tactics B, or if it does have a beefy 20 to 30% scaling, it's a self buff, like the one Fran has. DW basically put the best of both worlds in this case together, made it a 3-turn buff, and then gave it to Tamamo. What this means now is that arts teams are now able to be used in nuke farming, whereas before this buff, arts teams were usually reserved for challenge fights or late game content. Granted, it might not be quite Scotty levels of memery, but given the fact that it's an MP buff, which is great due to both the common nature of regular attack and card buffs and multiplicated buff stacking, And it's for 3 fucking turns. Did I emphasize that enough yet? It's an incredible buff that makes arts teams even more viable than they already were. And that's all just her first skill, and we still got 2 more to talk about. Her second skill is Shapeshift A, which increases her defense by 30% for 1 turn, and then further increases her defense again by 10 to 30% for 3 turns on a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. This is her hard defense skill, and while it's not as good as a straight up evade or invul, it's basically the next best thing you can have after that. Fluffy Tail is basically the most important member of any arts team, since the whole point of an arts team is to be able to arts chain and make it rain MPs like JP's gonna do for Muramasa. So keeping her alive should be one of your top priorities, because if she's gone and you don't have another support Tamamo in your backline as a contingency plan, your arts team probably won't last for much longer. Shapeshift is incredibly helpful in keeping her alive, and she still has that secondary 30% defense buff that lasts for 2 more turns once the first turn of 60% is gone. This is especially useful in negating some of the damage that she could take from random fucking crits that enemies like throwing out here and there. And if you bring Waver as your second art support, his defense skill stacks with hers, giving her a whopping 90% defense buff, by which point she could start outright tanking some AoE MPs. But there will be times when an enemy is about to MP and you don't have any drains available, and you just kinda have to tank the MP and pray for the best. Because of this skill's 1 turn super high defensive potential, Shapeshift is not entirely just the Pepega skill where you can just press it and just forget about it. You have to be mindful of battle conditions and see if Tamamo needs to pop morph at a specific time for maximum effectiveness. TLDR, this skill is the Protect Bushy Tail button. Use it often and use it wisely. Her third skill is Fox's Wedding EX, which grants a teammate a 3-turn 30 to 50% arts buff on a 7 to 5 turn cooldown. This skill also got buffed, albeit much earlier than her other skill buff, and received a moderate heal that recovers the teammate's HP by 1000 to 2500. This is basically Mana Burst but for art servants. Quick has Nyanta, Nyalter, and Scotty, and Buster's got Merlin and Nightingale, and I bet half of you forgot or didn't even know that Nightingale even had a Mana Burst. Unless I'm forgetting someone, which given my memory I very well may be, no other servant in the game has a targetable 50% arts mana burst. Also remember that this stacks hard with their first skill, which is a 30% MP damage buff. So when you really want to arts meme hard, Tamamo is indispensable. DW could have released her with just Fox's Wedding as her only skill and people would still use her in arts teams. That's how good this skill is. Well, that's a stretch, but still, it's a fantastic art steroid that enables your arts DPSs to go even further beyond and helps keep them alive at the same time. Her passive skills are Territory Creation C, which increases her own arts performance by 6%, and Divinity A, which increases her own damage by 200. Only Territory Creation really matters since it's a small but permanent MP gain buff, since Telmo isn't meant to be doing damage. That's Tomalance's job, and we all know how she does her damage. Hitagi's MP is Suiten Niko Amaterasu Yano Shizu Ishi, which is a support arts MP that reduces your frontline skill cooldowns by 1, heals them for 1000 to 2000 HP, and charges their MP gauges by 25 to 50%. After her MP interlude buff, the heal gets stronger, recovering 2000 to 3000 HP instead. This MP right here is the reason why arts teams work the way they do when Fluffy Tail's involved, namely the skill cooldown reduction. No other servant in the game has the ability to reduce the entire team's skill cooldowns at once, so that should tell you just how exclusive Tamamo's abilities are in case you weren't getting that sense already. In addition, skills can't be spammed on their own, since in FGO, normally once you use a skill, you can't use it again until it's off cooldown. But with Tamamo, skill spamming is now possible, allowing you to play the game with skills constantly active or back to being active a lot faster than they should be or were intended to, so long as you're on top of Tamamo's MP charging. And you can borderline break the game this way. Don't forget too that Tamamo's overcharge gives everyone lots of refund. 25% is good, but since it scales all the way up to 50% at max OC level, you always want to end MP chains with Tamo's MP, because not only will her MP give you more refund because of his higher overcharge level, but it also perfectly complements her teammates because they're using their MPs before her, so they're even closer to their next round of MPs once hers goes off. Lastly, make sure to do her MP interlude to get the healing buff. An extra 1000 HP might not seem like much at first, but remember that spamming her MP is something you should actively be doing. And so, the more MPs Tamamo uses, the more healing she can provide. And in late game content, you'll probably need all the heals you can get. So by this point, after everything we've discussed, you should have a solid understanding of what Kongo's intended to do in FGO. Give her an Arts DPS servant to support, and another support caster, and drain all the gauges, tank all the damage, buff all the Arts cards, spam all the skills and MPs, and heal all the teammates. Well, that's an exaggeration, but you get the idea. What isn't an exaggeration, though, is the fact that without Tamamo, we wouldn't have Arts teams, or at the very least, not to the same extent that we know them now. Her abilities are not only unique, but incredibly powerful, and due to their nature, Arts teams are among the safest and most reliable team types to use at any point in the game, outside of things like gimmicky event challenge quests, of course. One more thing that I'd like to point out here that I don't think I've mentioned yet is the fact that all of Tamamo's own skills have short 7 to 5 turn cooldowns, which makes them incredibly spammable in an Arts team. So yeah, her whole MP looping thing doesn't just benefit her team, it also helps herself spam out her own skills, and the more she can do that, the more she can help the team, and of course, the more she can break the game. However, even though everything I've said about my FGO waifu so far has been all, yeah, her skills are broken, her MP's broken, she's fucking broken, 20 out of 10 would shove 1,000 quartz down the fucking drain for one copy of her again. It's not all sunshine and daisies, unfortunately. Because Fluffy Tail's abilities are so catered towards Arts teams, if you put her in any other team, she's virtually useless. Her charge drain could still be useful, as is her defense buff, but if none of her teammates have offensive Arts MPs, her third skill is effectively wasted because without an MP to use it on, you miss out on the skill's damage potential, since 50% is a thick buff, just like she is. And in a non-Arts team, Arts cards won't be as readily available, which means less Arts chains for Tamamo to take advantage of to quickly charge her MP, which then means less MP spams, which then means less healing and less skill spamming. Her rigid niche in Arts teams means that she has much less team flexibility, unlike Wavy Lays, who's got skills that literally anybody could use, or Cock Wizard, who has a literal, yeah, nope button in the form of his second skill. But Tamamo more than makes up for this rigidness by being practically irreplaceable in teams that can properly make full use of everything that she has to offer. Cue the Beyonce song. Actually, don't. This video will get demonetized if I do, so listen to Tamamo's EXTELLA theme instead. It's better anyway. No, seriously, Tamamo's EXTELLA theme is a fucking banger. TLDR, just spam Tamamo MP loops to the point where you can fucking eat them for breakfast like cereal. As for the milk, you can always get them straight from the source. So after I've been fucking harping about it all video long, you should know that it's either you stick Sombra in an Arts team, or just don't bother bringing her at all. And if you play Overwatch, you probably should be picking Sombra anyway. Note that Telmo can support pretty much anyone who's got a deck with an Arts MP in it. FGO doesn't really have any servants who's got mismatched decks with Arts MPs, though despite that, people like Redman, Curryboy, and Dandyman do exist. So for the sake of this video, we'll talk about her strong support partners instead. Wavy Boy is a natural fit. Just like Tam, he's got a charge drain, which is on his MP, and is AoE, and his skills help her get her MP loops rolling a lot faster, on top of giving her additional defense that she can use to keep herself safer. Waver should be her support partner if you want a more offensively focused Arts team because of his attack buff, charge drain, and defense debuff. Merlin is an interesting case. Because of his kit, it'll take longer for Tamamo to get her MP loops rolling, and you miss out on some damage, but he does have his lol nope button that can save the team in a pinch and provides additional healing with his MP that complements Tamamo's heals. His hero creation is mostly useless since in an Arts team you're not really looking for massive buster crits, so just use it as a pseudo heal by that point with its max HP increase. He should be Tamo's support partner if you're looking for a more defensive arts team. French Toast is your third option, and now that she's recently gotten her MP buff on NA, she's now a really good one, because the debuff clear that she's got now is the one thing that Tamamo lacks in her kit. So having that, along with all the other nice things that Jean's MP gives, makes for a perfect stalling support duo. Same thing again with Small Media, except with heavy emphasis on healing. Put her, Jean, and Tamamo together, and you have the ultimate stall team that puts people to sleep fast and they can actually kill anything. Honorable mention, once again, goes to Kazgil for being a solid art support in case you don't have the other SSR options that I've mentioned. Just remember that he doesn't have a hard defensive option in his own kit, so again, you're gonna have to figure out a way to keep his ass alive. Prisma Cosmos is by far the best CE on Homura, which actually makes way more sense than I intended it to. Okay, moving on. Because Tamo's ability to MP spam is obviously dictated by how frequently she can charge it, any CE that buffs her MP generation, or in Prisma Cosmos' case, straight up gives her extra charge, is ideal on her. The reason why PC is so good though is the fact that even when Tamamo doesn't do anything during one turn, she still generates MP charge. In other words, it's constant, autonomous, and passive MP charge. As long as you can keep your fluffy tail alive, it'll always be working and it'll always be useful. So yeah, PC Master Race. This opens up more card options for you to use. If, for example, you want to get Tamamo's MP the next turn, but you realize that PC can help cover for the difference, you don't necessarily have to use her cards, and instead go with another card chain that'll help another servant charge their own MP faster. If you don't have PC, like I mentioned earlier, any CE that buffs MP gen is what you should look for. So CEs like Formal Craft, though you should probably give that to your Arts DPS if you don't have Black Grail. Halloween Ilya, which gives starting charge so that Tamo's first MP is a lot faster. Cute Sakura, though the MP damage buff is going to be wasted on Tam, obviously. A Moment of Tranquility if you have that, or Miyu. Against male enemies or bosses, if you see that your Tam is taking some heavy fire from them, consider giving her Holy Shroud of Magdalene, which should stack with Shapeshift and help her survive a lot better and thus a lot longer. If you want to try an Arts crit team, 2030 is, of course, the way to go. 2030 also gives full HP and stats, which helps Tamamo stay alive longer. In serious fights, though, you're probably better off taking a proper MP generation CE. That being said, a Fox's Night Dream is both 25% extra MP generation and 4 stars per turn when limit broken, and it was available recently during the Rashomon banner, so it's a decent 5-star CE option if you don't have the others. Her max bond CE is Tamo's fan club, of which I am the president. It increases the whole party's arts performance by 15% when she's got it equipped and is on the field. This is one of the best bond CEs in the game, entirely off the fact that it plays perfectly into Tamo's game plan, and if you don't have PC or other whale CEs that I've recommended, her own bond CE could very easily be your best option for her. Tammy is your premier art support servant, the one who revolutionized arts teams and put them on the map in terms of gameplay viability. And with her most recent skill buff, it's only gotten better. Damn, it feels good to be an arts meme. She makes arts teams so good, in fact, that honestly, no matter what kind of player you are, it practically is never a bad idea to have backup arts team strats for some tougher content. Telmo's a permanent gacha SSR, and she's got quite a few rate-ups. In fact, there should be one for her for Onigashima Rerun at the time of this video. So you should have at least a decent number of chances to pull your very own set of fluffy tails to touch. Well, unless FGO Alter has anything to say about that. And that's all you need to know about... Thanks for watching, y'all. Go watch my other Kiara video if you didn't somehow catch that one already. And until next time, deuces.